Zoom person. My hair. I'm a big Zoom person. So if things go a little differently for me today, please forgive me. We're learning this together. So really glad that you're here. I want you to really hear one of the things that Helen said today, which is use that Q&A tab to pop questions in there. So I've left plenty of time for us to have questions during this. So if something occurs to you as I'm teaching, please, instead of jotting it down in your notebook, which you're welcome to do, go ahead and jot it down in the Q&A, and that way we won't lose track of it. And Helen will help me kind of manage and work through those towards the end. So first of all, thank you. I know you can spend your time in a lot of different places, and there are a lot of things online, especially nowadays. So thank you for choosing to spend your time with me today. I promise that I'm going to teach you some new ways to think about and new ways to approach networking, both online. So new idea, how do you network online, right? And in real life. So when you're going to an event, which we know we're around the corner from that, please someday, we know it's coming, right? Let's put into the universe that it's coming. So my encouragement today is that you take notes. I'm going to be offering some very practical ways to do this, so you'll want to take some notes. Also, know that there's people coming to me from all different backgrounds. So some of a little bit of the technical stuff I teach, you may feel like, oh, I already know how to do this. I'm not going to make a big rest stop there, but if we do get there, I'm encouraging you to be a support to the other people here when we get to that part. But I think you've known enough about me. You know what we're talking about today. We're talking about the gross thing called networking, which we think of as gross, and I'm going to try to change your mind on that. Now, one last thing I want to share with you. Resume screen sharing. I'm doing this right. We're going to see if I do this right. Great. You guys can see me and the screen. If you haven't done it yet, grab your phone and go to Instagram so that we can, networking starts now, right? The people who are on this conversation with us today are actually interested in being open to networking. So by going to this Instagram post and putting I'm human, you already know that there's a crew of people who are actually interested in talking to you. So I just want to make sure you kind of acknowledge when an opportunity is given to you like that. Okay, so glad you're all here. Let's get started. Yes, thank you, Brian. That's what we're doing. We're networking for humans. Great. So my name is Brian. I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I did go to Northwestern. Obviously, I think you probably figured that out. We've got people here who are both from Northwestern and not alums from Northwestern as well. So I want to honor that. I was an advertising executive. My first job after Northwestern, I lived in Times Square practically with 2 other NU grads, and I worked in advertising for Broadway. So my clients were Broadway shows. So I was very close to, I was in the advertising and creative markets. I'm in my second year of training, I guess second and 2.5 years of training as a spiritual practitioner and non-denominational reverend. So no religions and all religions, you might say. Oprah, Buddha, Yahweh, God, all of the people. So all the spiritual truths, that's one of the things that I'm also trained in. I'm a Brené Brown, Marianne Williamson mega fan. You could add to that Anne Lamott and Elizabeth Gilbert. And I'm proud to daddy. I have a little doggy named Henry who just arrived a couple months ago. And hopefully he will not bark during our time together today. So let's jump right in here. I don't want to bore you with my bio. So here's the bad news about networking. So prepare yourself. If you're just getting present right now in this class, now is the time I want you to stop multitasking and close your other tabs and put your phone down. I want you to hear this. The bad news, let me start with it. Type into the chat what cool means to you. I want to see your answers here. So put this in the chat, not in the Q&A. What does cool mean to you? What does being cool mean to you? I want to see some of your answers here. Let me look for your answers. I'm going to watch the chat here. You could use a one-word answer. What's your one-word answer to what cool means? Let me hear from you. Pop that into the chat. Effortless. 2 people put effortless. Wow. Calm, exciting, confident, relaxed, flippant, chill, popular, unself-conscious, trendy, unbothered, all together. Weather report. Relaxed, chill, current, confident, nice. Cool means you want to be around that person, being at peace. So I'm going to also honor another definition. So those are all great definitions of cool, right? Relatable, not feeling worried about being cool, great. Interested in others, confident, great. So this is another way to define cool. And I really want you to picture like Kaniki and Danny Zuko at the beginning of Greece when they're too cool for school, showing no friendliness toward a person or enthusiasm for an idea or project. It is even keel. I'm not going to show that I'm excited. Free from agitation or excitement, it implies a calmness, dispassionate, that nothing really phases you, right? Serenity in poise in the face of setbacks or in the midst of excitement, which I think is actually like maybe some of that we like, maybe we might like a little bit that, right? Stresses an easy casualness that suggests indifference or unconcern. I want to say that one again. Stresses an easy casualness that suggests indifference or unconcern. So cool to me is a little bit like, I don't need anything. I'm great over here. You guys do what you want to do. I'm doing great over here. Sure, you can have fun. Like, it's a little removed. It's also sometimes, I think, a little suspicious. So being cool is being a bully. And I don't know about you, but I was bullied in school. And I don't think any of us as adults want to be bullies, right? So here's the trick of it. Cool is playing it safe. Cool is bullying yourself and others. It's transactional. It's suspicious. It's actually unkind because it's saying I'm not going to put any skin in the game. Cool, I think, is a way of staying very safe and not allowing yourself to get excited, not allowing yourself to be injured, not allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And it's pretty hard to walk into a new environment and to say, oh, I'm totally authentically, vulnerably myself. We often walk in wanting to feel cool. Why do we dress up? Why do we wear makeup? Why do we put on the outfit, right? Why do we try to arrive on time so we're not rushed, right? So that we can arrive cool. So I want to be mindful of the value we place on cool today. To me, it is an invulnerable posture. This is my definition, that encourages me to hide behind my own self-hate so that I can appear content, removed, and above it all. I'm going to leave that slide here for a second. I'm going to read it again. An invulnerable posture, like an attitude that encourages me, like it makes me want to stay there. I want to hear that. I chose that verb potentially, to hide behind my own self-hate, my own devaluing of myself, so that I can appear content, removed, and above it all. So I'm going to stay with this for a second. If this is who you are, I don't actually want to meet you. I don't actually want to network with you because I feel that energy coming off of you, right? So now I want you to define uncool in the chat. What does uncool mean? If we have this new definition of cool, what does uncool mean? I want you to write these into the chat. I want to hear what you think. Looking for you guys to say these things to me. Thanks, Jazzy. I love that, right? So I know a lot of us have done self-growth work. So I want to make sure we're moving with this. It's awkward, trying too hard, needy, nerdy, enthusiastic, chaotic, trying hard, out of step, rude. Got it. Uncool is geeky, being myself, rude, snobbish, vulnerable, loud and opinionated, unsure and bullying, self-centered, not considered popular, unique, being yourself. Love that. Overly enthusiastic. Oh, right. How many times do we think we're being #extra, right? Like, oh, don't be extra, right? Don't show that you're excited. Inappropriate. Okay. So uncool, this is like the textbook definition, is lacking in assurance, sophistication, or self-control. The last two words of this really do something for me. Lacking in self-control, meaning I'm not going to let you see how I feel. I'm going to seem like I am the James Bond of it all. We're not in a bad way, not in a good way, right? Failing to accord with the values or styles as of dress or behavior of a particular group not accepted or admired as cool or proper. So I'm not going to talk loud. I'm not going to express my feelings. I'm not going to be welcoming. Everyone else, so you walk into a room and everyone is very quiet. And so you're like, okay, I guess I'm going to be quiet because that's what I'm supposed to do. It's not a library. You're just ascribing that that's the cool way to be in here. So I'm going to be cool, right? So I define uncool as a rule breaker, a willingness to be emotional, and a willingness to react to life's stimuli. I'm from Northwestern, right? Without checking oneself. A willingness, just an openness to be able to be excited, to say no, to not be into it. A rule breaker, someone has to stick to the rules, who isn't afraid to say hello first. The way I think about this is an active curiosity about other people in the world and willingness to express it, celebrate it, and dig deeper. This is also one of the ways I define a creative person, which I believe all people are creative. So I want you to look at this definition: an active curiosity about other people in the world and things, you could say, and willingness to express it. That's the trick, right? Willingness to express it, celebrate that, and to dig deeper. You cannot be cool and network, notice I crossed off the word, and connect with other people. It is not possible. You will have a surface level relationship. So we have to immediately let go of the idea of being cool. You have to lean into the idea of, I might feel like I'm breaking the rules. Now, the reason why I strike through the word network is that I would like to hear from you Gift, we're going to get there. We just started. So, but great question. Pop that into the Q&A for me for later. So listen here. What do you define network as, or networking? I want to hear this in the chat. What is the word? What does networking bring up for you? What one word reaction do you have to the word networking? Most people say barf, but I want to see what your reaction is today. What is your definition today of networking? What does it make you feel? One word. Let me see what we're getting here. Cocktails, schmoozing, formed or like goal-directed interaction, handshake, stressful, nightmare, ugh, phony. I love that. Anxiety, hustling, sucking up, stressful, schmoozing, connections, tedious, I must succeed, awkward, sleazed, forced, new friends, great, that's good, insincere, great. So here's what I'm gonna check in. Here's how we wanna unpack networking. Let's jump into this. I'm just gonna keep going here. So when you meet someone, this is what they're at, and you hear these questions. So this is usually what happens in the first few minutes. Tell me about yourself. What have you been up to? What do you hear when someone says that to you? Those may be the words, but what do you actually hear when someone says that to you? I want to hear this in the chat. So really working in the chat today, you guys. I want you to get familiar with the chat here, right? So if you hear someone say, oh, well, tell me about yourself, or what have you been up to? What do you hear? What work have you been getting? Great. What else? What are you working on currently? Be interesting. What's your sole purpose? Great, Bridget. You've done nothing interesting. Let me judge you. Do you matter? How successful have you been? What are your accomplishments? Why is it worth talking to you? Ooh, you're so good. So I can judge you. What do you do for work? Should I spend my time with you? Such a painful one, right? Should I bother to spend my time with you? Right? Here's what I think this happens when you hear that, right? I think you hear, prove yourself, impress me. What is your resume? Why are you here? Why do you deserve to be here? Tell me why to care about you. Don't waste my time. Why you? And what did you just accomplish or book if you're an actor, right? So tell me about yourself. We hear all these other stories come up, that it's about a transactional kind of relationship. Now, what I believe this translates into is, why should I let you in the club? So you make this person into a bouncer. Now I want to just pause for a second and just notice how many people who are here on this meeting today are agreeing with you. So just take that in for a second and notice that, wow, everyone feels this way when they're at an event. So if I know that, what power do I have now to show up uncool to help them not feel this way? So if you take one thing away from me today, quit multitasking and hear this. If you were multitasking, what power do I have when I go to an event when I know everyone shows up like this and is imagining that they are being judged? Right? So what I think you hear is, why should I let you in the club? You make that person into a bouncer. So suddenly they have all the power. They're on higher status than you because they've asked the question, right? And you're in the line. You're one of a number. And it reduces you to your driver's license. Are you old enough to get in? Are you dressed right to be here tonight? Or it reduces you to your resume. What have you already accomplished? Where did you go to school? It reduces you to the receipts of your life. If you're an actor, show me your resume. It just cuts to the quick of, give me the facts of who you are, and that's all I care about. And I just want to clock this, because when you make others bouncers, you are doing this. You are making yourselves your credits and your experience, or your accomplishments. Just checking it. Said that my stream was lagging, but I think we're back. All right. You will equal. You make yourself equal in your accomplishments or your bookings to this person. And now you've set yourself up with this stranger for a lifetime of wonky communication. Now check this. I bet you've met someone at an event, or you connected with them, and you're like, they said I could email them, or I have their card and I should reach out to them. And like, I don't know what to say, or I want to do this first. And 4 months pass, 6 months pass, a year passes before you ever email this person, because you've put them in such a transactional position that you can't be a human being anymore. Anybody have that experience? Anybody have that moment? Because you have set up a lifetime of, I'm at the bank, I'm at the grocery store, just doing transactions. And it puts you at the lower status. And it is a version of playing small, because it's not putting skin in the game. And part of what also happens when you make someone a bouncer, there's no room for emotion. So now how are you ever going to deepen this relationship when you have made a rule that we're keeping things transactional? I'm going to hear everything they say as transactional. You just dragged that person to hell. I want to just clock that. They didn't do anything besides tell me about yourself. What have you been up to? And you dragged them to hell. Now, I define hell as neuroses, anxiety, judgment, depression, right? Those are all the things going on inside of you when you said that person is a bouncer, they have power, and I'm just transactional right here, because you're separated from the truth of who you are. You're now, the truth of who you are is what's on a piece of paper, your resume or whatever, right? The other place, some of you might call it heaven, we'll just call it the good place here, right? Is a place of connection. It is the truth of who you are. It's a place of empathy, compassion, and love. And it is a vulnerable position to take when we are networking, when that thing that makes you feel like throwing up. The barfing emoji is what I think of when I hear the word networking, unless I really check myself, right? So when you're separated from the truth of who you are a pretty shitty person at this event. Sorry, I said a bad word. I'm probably going to get kicked off this thing now. So you're not a great person when you are being that, when you make them into a bouncer and you're doing it to them. They did not ask for you to do it to them. So if you believe in connection, empathy, compassion, and love are important, if you believe those things are important, which by the way is why I think we exist, the moment you quit asking, is this relationship worth it? You will know the answer. So I'm going to share these slides one more time. So if you believe that connection, empathy, compassion, and love are important, and I'm going to just imagine that you do, the moment you quit asking, is this relationship worth it, you will know the answer. So what I mean by that is, by going into the networking event going, well, should I meet this person and should I meet that person? And when that question is running, that is why you're not being the truth of who you are, because you're bringing the question to the conversation. What I want you to think of this as love first. So I'm not talking about intimacy or romance. I'm saying love the person first on a more baseline level of humanity. Love them first for their humanity, and then you'll hear the rest at a different level. By the way, this works for dating too. It just means you get your heart broken more, which means you'll end up with the right person. Okay, so the truth of this is your heart is on the line, right? Just like I said, your ass is going to get kicked if you're willing to do this. You can't, but what's the alternative? The alternative is a life as a robot. The alternative is a life of never being excited, never being willing to go there. So this is what I believe is the truth. And you could even scratch the word art to creativity. You could say work if you're not a creative person. By the way, I believe everyone is creative. If you're not in a creative industry, everyone is creative. So this is what's going to happen. If you're going to put yourself out there, this is what's going to happen, right? But I want to get really clear. If you got your ass kicked at a networking event, it's probably going to look like the person walked away. You can handle that. Let's not be wimps around here. And I'm saying that kind of like a bully. That's what I meant to say, but you get what I'm saying. So if courage is as a value of yours, who has courage as a value? Just write yes in the chat if courage is a value of yours. I'm going to see that. See, if courage is a value, I want to hear yes in the chat. Check in with yourself. If courage is a value, if art, love, and compassion matter, you have to go there. You have to be willing to be uncool. You have to be willing to show up as a human in love first. Or when you leave that event, you're not disappointed in the people who were there. How often do you leave an event and your butt hurt at yourself? You're disappointed in you. I should have talked to more people. I wish I would have said hi. You're not mad at them. You come back and you beat yourself up. So now it creates a big, huge self-hate circle of how you're not good at networking and networking sucks, and suddenly you're throwing it off on, well, networking sucks, or I'm not good at networking events, when actually the truth of you not being good at networking events is why you're here, right? And also because you leave yourself. You become someone other than yourself at a networking event. You allow coolness to lead. And so it's going to get in the way of a real relationship and a truthful connection. Because here's the thing, ready? Networking, I'm going to stop my sharing for a second. No, it's too much work. I'm going to leave it where it is. So networking, you don't want to just meet people and collect names and like, I got a great big Rolodex, who has a Rolodex? But I got a great big Rolodex of a lot of names of people I met. You actually want relationships that can be future collaborators for you. And if you want a future collaborator, you're going to have to put some skin in the game so that they can say, I like this person, because your resume may look the same as every single person's at that entire session or meeting or wherever you are, at the end of the day, I need to have a good feeling about you. My good feeling is going to come from your humanity. I'm on a soapbox or something, guys. Okay, so let me keep moving here. So the way I think about this is you have to say yes to the dress. You have to say, I'm here. I'm saying yes to being open. There's a little bit of psyching yourself up into this. I'm just going to say yes to the dress. I'm trying not to question whether this person has value for me. I'm just going to say yes to the dress. Okay, let me try to click this. Being a little weird with my clicking, guys, so hang on a second. Okay. So, and the truth of this is when the smartest, most ebullient, most you version of you will show up in the relationship. Let's just check that. When you're willing to let go of that question, the you-iest you is there, right? So Jordan, I see Jordan's here. Jordan, the most Jordan version of Jordan will show up when the question is removed. And therefore, you can be discerning about who you're meeting and say, oh, well, I actually should email that person again. Or that was a lovely person to meet. I don't know that we need to collaborate, but you become so much smarter when the question is removed. The question is just a false belief in your own transactional, that you need to be a transaction, right? Okay. This is the best way to say that. Everything else is the fearful, protective, fake, puffed up, fraud version of you. So if you want to meet, so here's the trick. You can't decide everyone else here is showing up as a fraud and I'm doing my good work because I went to that class with Brian and I'm being that's just one more way to play small, right? Because you have the power to distill that. Because you are going to show up ebullient, smart, intelligent, connecting as a human being. So don't write them off as frauds and that you were the person who's doing a good job. That's just that's like Diet Coke, McDonald's spirituality. The truth of the spirituality is everyone is the same and I'm just showing up so that I can be a magnet for that kind of energy. So I want to make sure you hear that. So, and she will be the one showing up in the relationship and making decisions. And she's not that smart, right? This fraud version of you, right? The fearful, protective, fake, puffed up fraud version of you, she will be the one who shows up in the relationship and making decisions, and she's not that smart. So here's what I want to say. So let's say you meet somebody and this fraud version of you is showing up, right? And you're scrambling for your worthiness in the conversation. You will then judge this person and say, oh, they didn't like me, or I didn't have enough on my resume. You suddenly continue to reflectively see yourself that way. We don't want that for you, right? So now let's revisit the question. Tell me about yourself and what have you been up to lately? Can we hear this in a new way? I want to give you a tool. So here's the truth. These questions will probably still spark a little bit of this anxiety coming up because we've just started this awareness, right? So what we know is we need kind of something to lean into. We need a tool to help us because we know in that moment our tendency is to grab the person by the hand and drag them to hell, and we're going to elect not to do that. So what I believe we need to do is set up a mental Tory in our mind. So if you don't know what a Tory is, this is a Tory. Oops, this is a Tory. You've probably seen one before. You see them all over Japan, China. They are in front of a Shinto shrine. And they are there because as you're walking by and you're going to go into the shrine, they are there to wake you up. They're this bright red, orange, vermilion. I'm going to just hold it for a while. They're bright red, orange, vermilion. And they are there to say, when you pass from the mundane, when you come over here, you're passing to the sacred. So get it together, right? Get yourself together. Move out of your, I'm just doing my email and I'm texting and I parked the car and now I'm getting on Zoom or whatever it is. And get clear that you are walking into a space where you can get a little crazy. So walk through your mental Tory to some consciousness. So that's what this tool is about. So when you hear the question, tell me about yourself. What have you been up to? You're going to see that little orange Tory in your head and you're going to respond with some pretty easy good news. This is really easy to work through. You're going to share one personal and one professional positive thing you've got going on. So I'm going to challenge you right now. So I would normally do them like, before we go there, now, past, or future. So I want to make sure you hear that. It doesn't have to be that it happened last week. It doesn't have to be that it happened last month or last year. It could also be something you're looking forward to. One personal and one professional. Now, before you start planning this or getting stuck on what this might be, I'm going to give you some examples here. So what is your Henry? I introduced you to Henry at the beginning of this thing. If I was going to talk about something personal in my life right now, it would undoubtedly be Henry, right? It's taken over my life. I love him. He wakes me up at 6:30 in the morning. It's a lot of what I'm doing, right? So that could be my personal, right? So I want you to check in with yourself. What is your Henry? And so we would normally do this in a breakout room. So we're not going to do it in a breakout room. We're going to use the chat right now. So in the chat, here's what I want you to do. Answer the question. What have you been up to? And tell me about yourself with one personal and one professional thing you've got going on. Now you can use not perfect sentences right now, but I want you to check in. I want to see kind of what we end up in the chat right now. If you're going to share two things, okay? Everybody pop into the chat. What's one or two things you got going on? One or two, actually one and one. Actually, it's not one or two, one and one. What's one personal and one professional positive thing you've got going on? If you're thinking too hard, you're thinking too hard. Okay? I want to hear what people have got here. I'm going to look at the chat. I just moved across country, so I'm meeting LA. Perfect, Igor. I love that. Baby, learning to play guitar. Loving my dog. Jack Russell. Baking. Oh my God, so many good things. Great. I got a new manager. Quitting smoking. Deepening my spiritual practice and found and growing avocado trees. Just got engaged. Congratulations. So look at kind of what you're seeing here. What I want to share, best chicken, new puppy, learning to network. My tropical plants are thriving and I'm shooting a co-star tomorrow. Great, congratulations, Mahalit. Got delicious pandemic puppy. Great, so just noticing how quick, the reason why I wanted you to see these is so you can get an example of what other people are using, right? Doing a lot of great reading. Now I'm gonna teach you some tricks around this so that you can really do this well. So come back to me, once you've written your thing and come back to me. The personal and the professional thing, the more specific it is, the more I will remember it. So you're looking for specifics. It's the difference between, we just landed a big project at work and I'm really excited because we finally got, I'm making this up, we finally got a pool put in our backyard. So cool, but I'm already bored. So give me some details. We're really excited because we got this project at work where we're going to work with all of these restaurants that have 10 or more locations, where we're putting in these stations where people can use their credit card or right? And we have been trying to get a pool in our backyard. This is not true. I'm making this up, you guys. We've been trying to get a pool in our backyard for over like the past 6 years, and the city was involved because they said there were electrical lines, and we finally got the go ahead. And I'm so excited because 2021, there will be swimming in my backyard. So, and I live in Pasadena, right? So what you want to do is you want to add the details. And what I'm looking for details isn't just, it isn't there because you're bragging. It's actually the opposite. When you add details, it makes us feel like there's a way in. So remember when I talked about restaurants and 10 locations, but you probably had a reaction to those things. You have a reaction to the word Pasadena. You have the reaction to the word pool. You have a reaction to all of the capital. The more details I put in here, the more you are engaged at being able to ask a question. When you don't give me details, I'm not sure who to be or if I can ask a question. So the way that I want you to think about this is capital letters are the best. So Pasadena, California, the name of the companies you're working. I should have mentioned the name of the companies that I was working with in my improv just now, right? The more you say that, the more helpful it is. I love Corey's asking, can it be too long? I want to talk about this in the Q&A. I'm going to imagine everyone here has been on a bad date in their lifetime. If you haven't, lucky you. You know when someone talks too long. You know when you're talking too long. This is not about being cool though, so be careful. It's not about being cool. It's about sharing. Right? It's about sharing what you're honestly excited about. The reason why I chose positive is I just met you. I'm not ready to handle your negative or what's not going well in your life right now, right? Like Brian Patacca is, I'm a life coach. I can handle it, but I'm just meeting you for the first time. So I'm not ready for you to go deep on what's going wrong in your career or your life, right? So choosing the positive things makes it easier on me. And here's the thing. If you had a harder time thinking of the personal or a harder time thinking of the professional, you need to clock that because that's what's going on inside your head, right? So I can tell you, I love my work so much. So I will always have a positive one thing to say about my work first. So I have to, in my life, I would like to, I don't have to, in my life, get a better recognition of the wins in my personal life, right? So that I can connect them a little bit better. So just notice that about yourself. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. This is something that needs to be practiced. So I want to make sure you hear that. So I'm just going to do this real quick. Pause, stop, cancel, pause screen. Am I big? Great. So I want to check in on this for a second, right? So you don't want to, bragging to me lives in the vagaries. So if you're not giving details, it's because it makes us feel like you're bragging. So I want to make sure you hear that again. If this starts to feel like bragging, it's because you're not giving details. The truth of the positivity is if you are excited about it, I will be excited about it. I will respond in kind to however you're talking about it, right? So it's the difference between, and if you're not an actor, I think you'll still get this anyway. I'll meet an actor sometimes says, well, I had an audition, but I don't think I booked it. Or, you know, I auditioned for this commercial, but it was non-union. So they'll shit on it, sorry, another bad word, as soon as they say what it is, right? That is the opposite of what we're doing here. Because then if I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, you booked a commercial. Oh, but it's non-union. I guess that's bad. Oh, you had an audition, but oh, you didn't get it. So that's bad, right? It's the difference between saying, so I got an audition for this really great part I'm super excited about. I don't get to play this very often. Or I had a meeting for my script and I got to pitch it to these people. And, you know, I've been pitching for a while now, but it felt a little different this time. This is a company that I would really love to make things work. It's called the Butt Cheese Company Production Company. And I met John and Steve there, and they're the two owners. And, you know, their office is out in Santa Monica. And, you know, I felt like fancy, like I'm going to this big meeting. And I felt like for the first time, I showed up a little different. And I was just really proud of how they really got the story. And, you know, we'll see what's next. You know, who knows what's next, but that's where I am right now. So that was the improv, obviously. But you can hear that I put details. Who are the two guys? Where's their office? What is the name of the company? Like, putting those details in perks up your ear. It's the ladders on the rung of me being able to connect with you. Our tendency, which we talked about at the beginning of this class, is to get small, try to be cool, not put details, right? Stay over here. The details make me lean in. So go for the details. And also the details will help you, I believe, when you're telling the story. Oh yeah, the office was in Santa Monica, like to actually image it about that. Got it? So the negativity doesn't have a space here. And if you're excited about it, I'm excited about it. I don't care if you booked the job. Why would I care? I care what you cared about. I don't care if you got the pitch, if they picked up your show to distribute. I care about because you were excited you got the meeting. So be careful of shitting, again, bad word, on the things that you don't want, that you shouldn't be, that you could be considered wins, right? What is the win inside of it, right? This is also the kind of thing where if you knew you were having a one-on-one meeting, or you're going to go to a networking event and you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit of the heebie-jeebies about this. And oh, I went to that networking class. What did he say again? You might take a second in your car or in the subway or on your way there, go, what are the two things that I'm going to, in case I get weird tonight, what are the two things I'm going to talk about? Okay, it's going to be this and this. Great. And now they're just clocked away so that when that mental Tory needs to show up, you have some rungs to lean on, right? Just to help yourself a little bit. Okay, great. Okay, moving on. I'm going to share my screen again. Hold on a second. Resume screen. There we go. Perfect. So again, what is your Henry? Is a way to think about that. So skipping the breakout rooms. So I want to talk about this. I want to hear from you. We're changing gears here. Put in the chat, what is a database? Just let's define what a database is. Let me hear in the chat. What is a database? Go with me on the switching of gears. You're going to see how these things all connect here. So what is a database? Put that in the chat for me. There's a lag time on getting these things, guys, so it takes a second. So let me see. A record, tracking system, storage of information, collection of data, storage, Excel sheet, great. A collection of organized info, a list of stuff, gathering of list of people's name, your personal Rolodex connections, repository, a treasure trove. I'm obsessed. A mountain of spreadsheets. That's sometimes what you think of, right? An organized system, stuff you write down. Great. So let's just go, ooh, I hate that big thing. That'll go away in a second. So a database is a large collection of data organized especially for rapid search and retrieval as by a computer. That's like the definition of what a database is. So I love files with information, collection of resources, a nightmare. Summer says a nightmare. So yes, a database is that, and it is the easiest way to keep track of the people you've met so you can be the person you want to be in the world who stays connected to her future collaborators. So I want you to read that again. Yes, and. It is the easiest way to keep track of the people you've met so you can be the person you want to be in the world who stays connected to her future collaborators. So sometimes I think when we think about a database, we get triggered because we think, yeah, but then I'm reducing people to a transaction, right? Like, and if you're multitasking, lean into this right now because this is the place where you're most likely to tune out because this is where resistance will show up. I don't want to keep a database because then I'm making people into a number. Like if I keep their information, like I should just remember who they are. Who are you that you can remember who they are? I don't know. Do you remember your barista's name at Starbucks from this morning? Probably not. right? So this being the person you want to be is a person who shows up in the world who says, I'm here to create, I'm here to move the needle on whatever it is I'm making, whether that's in my own business, whether that's a creative career, right? So the database is just a tool because we can't remember everything. Our brains aren't that good, okay? So I encourage you to create a database. Now, some of this may seem like remedial for some of you because you might already have some kind of database. So I'm going to do this really briefly. But if it is remedial for you, be a support to the people who might have questions in the chat while I do this. I'm just going to have a light touch here because I'm going to imagine there's really smart people in this class and you can figure some of this out. But I'll give you kind of my key parts of a database. So I like Google Sheets. That's what I use for my business. I also use a huge software marketing platform that helps me with everything. Excel sheets, you could use Airtable. I have a lot of people who love Airtable. Okay, those are 3 options. This is what I think needs to be on your database. First name, last name, email, company, their role or their title, because you want to hang on to that, and your last contact with them. Now, you might also have a mailing address if there's someone who you'd mail to them, so that think about that considerably, right? Also, it ain't going to be fun to make this. You're like literally data entry. I bet you're all smarter than data entry. However, this is the way you get to be the person you want to be in your career and in your life, right? Your phone, that's a great question, Marlena. Your phone contacts list can count, but do you have their email address there in a way that is manipulatable? So this is why I like it in Google Sheets, Excel, or Airtable, or something like that, is because it's a really powerful source, right? So just noticing here, here's Celine Dion and Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, and they all work at Titanic Talent, and they're all agents. So just checking that for a second. Someone says I do data entry for a job, right? So you want to be able to clock their information because let's pretend for a second, the reason why I think it's important to put their role or their title, let's pretend that you met the person who works in accounting at a really cool production company. And you're like, whoa, you got a great connection and da-da-da. And a couple months pass or whatever, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got something I want to pitch to this production company. Or actually, I hear they're working on something that maybe I'd be good to work for. Or I wonder if they need a new server for their computer, whatever. I'm really going to all the industries right now, right? Well, you would email that person in accounting that you met and say, hey, Carol, it was so great to meet you at the whatever event. I'm sure you're not the right person to contact for this, but I realized your production company might need XYZ ABC, is working on a project, blah, 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 might be open to seeing me pitch my da-da-da-da-da. Do you know who I might contact there? So that's why I think the role is so important because it values the relationship. And you can come in at a level where I realize you're not the person I need to talk to, but maybe there's somebody else I need to talk to, okay? So how often should you stay in touch with the people on your database? Let's check that. Oh, wait, one more thing. Can I just teach you a little hack right now? So let's pretend you meet someone at a company and you get their card. You can always reverse engineer the other people's email addresses because of, so like Celine Dion at Titanic Talent, if, you know, James Cameron worked there, you would go, oh, then his email address must be James Cameron at titanictalentsync.com, right? You can reverse engineer the email address of somebody you might want to meet. Now that's a little outside of networking and creating a database, but I'm wanting you to notice that, okay? So how often should you stay in touch with these people? I believe that this is a bit of intuition. Energetically, you might feel like, oh, I haven't talked to them in a while. I need to reach out, right? But honestly, I think it should be 6 to 12 times a year. That's only, you know, once every other month. And that can look like a lot of different things, right? That could be a newsletter you send out. I'm going to get into some of those conversations in a second. I also think the times you should contact them is immediately after you see them. Right? If you saw them, it was great to see you. That just reaffirms that you value that relationship. Any chance you have to offer gratitude, I believe that gratitude is never too late. If someone thanked you for something you did 10 years ago, I think that'd feel pretty good to you. So I just want to make sure if you're thinking, so right now, close your eyes, wherever you are, close your eyes. I'm gonna close mine too. Is there one person who has helped you get to where you are in your career right now that you could send some gratitude towards? Whoever came up right now, that's the right person. Send them an email in the next 7 days. Great, you have an assignment. Okay. And then of course you can often reach out to them whenever you have a win, a personal or professional. I'm getting married, or I booked this thing, or whatever, right? Now, a lot of people talk about using Google Alerts as a reason to reach out to someone. So if you don't know what a Google Alert is, it basically trolls the internet for any time someone's name is mentioned. So let's pretend you were obsessed with Charlize Theron. I'm just bringing that up, no, for written number, and you're like, you know her for some reason. So you're going to have the Google alert set up so that anytime her name is mentioned in the news, you get an email that says, here's the article that is mentioned, and then you're going to find a reason to reach out to her because of that article, right? I find this to be a little inauthentic. Here's why. Because it doesn't lean into you honestly being connected to them. So if you want to set up a Google alert to help you remember to reach out to people, totally cool. But what I don't use is I just saw that you booked this, and it becomes or I saw that you just are doing this production. It feels very inauthentic. So you just have to make sure that you are leaning into the authenticity of your relationship there. Okay. So the method of communication, it can be phone. I know we had a question about that. Be careful getting distracted during the chat during this, because I know we're getting technical and it can be a very easy way to get distracted. I want to make sure you hear this. Okay. Phone, text, you could DM them in Instagram or Facebook. Now, here's the thing about those things. I don't know how often someone DMs you and says, hey, do you want a job? I don't know how often you're on Instagram and you're messaging someone and you get into a really deep conversation. I think that tends to be a little bit more McDonald's conversations. It's fast food. You're not paying that much attention to it. It's not as serious, right? Texting, if you're close enough to someone that you should be texting them. And crazy that I should recommend you call someone. Who calls anyone anymore, right? Super weird. I would also put in the phone section a Zoom opportunity, right? Maybe you phone or Zoom them. I had a Zoom date with someone yesterday, Zoom coffee date with someone yesterday, a friend of mine from school, from Northwestern, Nikki Levy, if y'all know her. So anyway, these are ways to reach out to them. But I believe the most powerful one at times is email. And the reason for that is most of us relate to our email as a to-do list. So if you show up in my email box, I'm going to either write you back right away or leave you unread so I can get back to it later, or read it and then mark it unread and come back to it later, right? So you want to tap into that energetically, the way that people relate to their email inbox, right? It also feels most professional in some ways. Now, MailChimp, Emma, and Constant Contact are mass email servers, because I do believe that if you're really doing your job here, that database is going to get pretty long. And it's not going to be possible to always make a personal connection to everyone on your list. So it might look like, I believe anyone in the world it is okay for anyone in the world to have some kind of newsletter that they send out. Now, I hate the word newsletter, because then it's like, I'm going to put this there and this and that. One thing, tell me one thing. Think of it as an email. So you want to send one email a month or one email every 2 months. Okay, so think of it that way. So what do I say, right? Are we all freaking out about what do I say? If it's you, write it me in the chat. Anyone like, what do I say in these emails? What do I say to people? Oh my God, right? Totally get it. I'm going to get you started today because you already have the answer. You're going to share one personal and one professional positive thing you've got going on. That's it. So all of you writing it me, I just gave you the answer. Now, if you decide to be resistant to this answer, that's on you, because this is the answer to this question. Hey, I want to let you know, over here in Pasadena, we just got a puppy. Here's a quick picture of him. We're really excited about it. He's waking me up really, really early, but he's adorable. And I know one day he's going to get out of this puppy energy and we're going to have a great dog over here. That was not true. And then, Anne, I want to let you know, I'm really excited right now. I'm working on this project with my team, XYZ, ABC, I'd love to know what's going on with you. I know it's a weird time right now, so we could love to stay in touch. If you want to hop on the phone, I'm open to it. Right? So you can send an email like that to one person or everyone in your database. If they all decide to call you, terrific. How awesome is that? Right? So just notice that. Okay. If you have questions, make sure you're posting things in the Q&A so I see them later. Okay, guys? Great. Remember, now, past or future, no one cares. Wanted to share something that happened last month. Great way to talk about it. We're going to Santa Barbara next month, and I wanted to share with you that this is what our plan is. It's been really great to think about this staycation, even though it's only, a couple miles away, right? So I have some more good news for you. I'm sure everyone here has been on a Zoom meeting at some point in your life. So I'm going to teach you a Zoom chat hack. Okay. Now it works the same way here inside of this program, but we're not always in big marker. This is Northwestern so fancy, right? So we're not always using big marker. So hold on, my stream says it's lagging. Let's see if it's going to catch up. Great, I think I'm back. Great, okay. So I'm going to teach you a Zoom chat hack so that you can direct message someone. Now you might know already how to do this, but I'm going to teach you what to say as well, okay? So if you look at this slide, as soon as that black bar disappears, you can direct message people in Zoom. So I want you just to do this right now on big marker. It's a little different. Go over to private and click on someone and just write hi. Click on anyone in that private calendar and write hi. I'm pretty sure you guys can do that on your end. If you can't do it on your end, just holler at me. right? So in Slack, in Zoom, oof, stop it, go away. Thank you. I want to show you how you do this. So in Zoom, oh my gosh, that thing. Okay, so I'm going to stop putting my mouse over it, but just look at this over here for a second, you guys. So in Zoom, you see that little check mark where it says everyone, or you can choose Edward or Fred. Oh yeah, you guys only have those two options. Okay, never mind. We're only going to talk about Zoom. Don't try to do it during this class, okay? Great, just stay with me here. So when you're on Zoom, you can pick specific people you want to message. Now, there are times when you'll be in a Zoom where the host has turned that off. Most often they're not paying attention to that. So I want you to use this hack. So you could choose a specific person to direct message. Now, why would I want to direct message someone, Brian? That would be so weird. Let me give you a little way to think about this. Let's pretend someone wrote in the chat, wow, I am loving this because I really find myself getting stuck when I reach out to casting directors. Great. And you're like, great, I'm an actor, they're probably an actor too. Or I'm really having a hard time doing this in my photography business. So you suddenly can see there's a connection there, right? So let me show you what you might say. Turn the stupid pointer off. Okay, so I like to do this it's 3 parts, and it's also called the nice plus, kind of the way to do this, okay? You're gonna notice something, you're gonna introduce yourself, you're gonna connect, you're going to offer your email, and then a bonus if you want to. Now, don't worry, I'll send you this slide after the class, so you don't have to screenshot this. I'll send it to you. But I want you to see an example of this. So notice, thank you. So let's pretend someone said, networking sucks. I'm having such a hard time with this, right? Thank you for saying networking sucks. I totally feel the same way. You are looking to draw a parallel to yourself there. I'm an actor, and I always feel like I'm selling myself, right? So there's a little introduction about how you're feeling. But I'm trying to do a better job of it. So obviously we're both here on this thing, so we're probably both trying to do a better job of it. Now, if you're tuning out, this is a place where you might tune out because I'm giving you a very practical solution. So don't worry, I'm gonna go through this next part slowly so you can integrate it. So just follow along here if you found yourself getting resistant and leaning back, okay? This is a place where it could happen. Now I'm on the email step. That said, I'm going to go out on a limb and share my email with you. Maybe there will be something for us to collab on in the future. Brian at brianpatacca.com. And then you can always add a bonus. And if you want to learn more about me, because I get that it's weird to connect on Zoom, but I think this is the new normal, here's my site, brianpatacca.com. Now I better get back to paying attention to class. Super short. I don't feel like you're sketchy. I don't feel like you're trying to act me on a date. I feel pretty good about it, right? So just notice, I'm going to put it all together for you. Thank you for saying networking sucks. I totally feel the same way. I'm an actor and it always feels like I'm selling myself, but I'm trying to do a better job of it. Fingers crossed. That said, I'm going to go out on a limb and share my email with you. Maybe there will be something for us to collab on in the future, right? And if you want to learn more about me, because I get that it's weird to connect on Zoom, but I think this is the new normal, here's my site. Now I better get back to paying attention to class, right? Doesn't feel weird, feels normal. I want you to notice the use of emojis. So because this is about chatting, emojis, scientists have proven, make us assume a level of a familiarity and can better express our emotions. That's what they're used for, right? So I encourage you to use them. And here's a wonderful hack I'm giving you today. If you learn one thing today, if you are on a Mac keyboard, if you press Control Command Space bar, a little emoji keyboard will come up. So if you figure that out, if you're brand new to knowing that, Control Command Space, please put an emoji in the chat. Let's see you excel at this. Okay, I want to see you do that. So using that messaging, again, I'm going to go back to it so you can see it again. Let me just close that thing. I'm not sure why that bar keeps showing up, but I hate it, you guys. So this is what the messaging looks like. Yay, look at you all getting it. Mind blown. Now, if you are using a PC, just Google this later on. Or actually, Helen might be able to Google it for us and share the link with us in a minute, okay? Great. I love all these little faces, you guys. Nice job. Okay. So use this all the time. And I just want to go back to the nice process, right? Notice, introduction, connect, share your email, or you're never going to get to talk to them ever again, and decide if you want to add a bonus. Okay? Notice something about them, introduce yourself, connect on a human level, share your email, and then a bonus. So it's the nice plus system. Okay? Great. Someone just popped the Windows one in there. Okay, so I know we love emojis. Come back to me. Come back to me. I want to make sure you don't miss the rest of the learning here because I know emojis are exciting. Okay, so this is not what I want to leave you with. And I know we're going a little over here, and hopefully Helen's not going to kick us off if we have questions that run over here. So I need you to forget what animal you are. I'm going to imagine you've seen photos like this before. The reason these relationships are able to happen is they let go of the outside form. Now that might not be conscious, right? Because these are animals, but these guys are friends because they haven't allowed the outside form to dictate who they get to be inside the relationship. If you stick to the form, you will only be the form. You're an actor, you're a writer, you're a producer. The rest of you is lost. So what I want to lean into here, because I'm sure there's going to be questions about professionalness. How do I be professional in all of this? I really believe in what Carl Jung says, which is the paradox is one of our most valued spiritual possessions. So what that means to me, you have to hold the paradox that I'm in the business and I want to show up as a human being, and that both of these things are true. And when I reduce myself to just the business, my humanity goes away. When I make myself just a human, I start talking about crazy things and I'm not being a business person anymore. So how do I hold both of these at the same time? That's part of the tell me one personal, one professional way to do that. Now, Helen is going to pop into the chat some resources for us to stay connected and a lot of good, juicy stuff. Also, I want to hear all your questions. So we're going to go over there in just a second. So thank you for staying on with me beyond the 11 o'clock hour. Helen will post some links for you if you want to grab some of the freebies that I have for you. I also will email you some of the slides from today, the ones that are the most powerful, so you have a chance to really integrate this learning. Okay? And most of all, I want to say thank you. I said this at the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. There's a lot of places you could spend your time today. This is about us connecting. I'm feeling more connected, and I'm looking forward to hearing your questions on how to apply this in your own life, all right? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and come over to your questions. And, okay, stop sharing. Here I come. All right, so thank you. If you have to leave right now, I want to say something to you. Thank you for being here. Write one takeaway into the chat before you log off today. What's one takeaway that you want to leave with today in the chat before you pop off? So if you have to leave during this Q&A section, please just pop into the chat what you learned. What's one takeaway, one thing you liked that you learned today that's going to stick with you? Okay, so I'm going to come to the questions. So great. I only see 2 questions here. I saw a lot more in the chat. So I'm going to encourage you, if you didn't put your question in the chat, if you didn't put your question in there, I'm not going to see it. So pop on over to the Q&A and hit me up with your questions, okay?
Hey, Brian, quick comment. In the Q&A tab, there's a bunch of sub-tabs. If you click on publish, that's the ones you will, yes.
Yes, great, thank you so much. There's a bunch of questions, terrific. Okay, great. I'm gonna start with Jackie. So Jackie says, I'm looking for strategies to network without being desperate or needy. I'm gonna imagine, this was towards the beginning of our class, so I'm gonna imagine that I've given you some of that in the class today. If I haven't, Jackie, I'm gonna ask you to push back and comment another question. But here's the thing about desperation and needy. Desperation and needy is coming from a place where you're coming from transaction again. They have something that I don't. They don't have anything you don't. We're here on a human level. So watch, if you're starting to feel desperate, know that that means you're buying into the idea of dragging them to hell. So I want to just make sure you clock your own mindset when you do that, right? That doesn't mean you won't meet someone and want to ask them for something someday, right? Or say, hey, I know that you work at this company. How open are you to connecting me with Steve, who I believe works in your production department? Right? That question is not a very hard question. I can say no, right? Give me the dignity of being able to say no. Quit taking care of me and quit being codependent. I can say no. Give me the dignity of a no instead of codependent yourself into a state of inaction for years. I hope that answered. I didn't mean to sound so rough. Great. Siggy, how do we combine the good news with being vulnerable? Good news sounds like everything is handy dandy. What if it's not? How do we combine these two authentically? I believe that when you're actually sharing what you're excited about, hi Siggy, I believe that when you're sharing what you're actually excited about, it is vulnerable. So I want to clock this. It's the difference between saying, this is my favorite movie, which is not vulnerable. And, you know, I love that show because it brought up in me this feeling of inadequacy, that it's hard to XYZ ABC, and that I'm sometimes like that in my own relationships. And so I really thought that they did a good job of engaging the audience in a way that got me to look at myself, right? So it's leaning into the impact of whatever the good news piece is. That's one thing. The other is your vulnerability is, I'm going to say, I guess I'm kind of saying the same thing, but I want to underline it. Your vulnerability does come through when you talk about what you're excited about. So things don't have to be handy dandy, right? Like maybe your life isn't great right now. I want to pause on that. Get it. Look at the world. Totally understand. That could be what's going on, right? But if you're meeting someone for the first time, there's a level at which they're not ready to hold that for you yet. right? That's where professionalism comes in. And so to me, that is where you could say something like, it's really nice to meet you. Yeah, it's a weird time in the world, but I'm finding some solace in, I'm not a big reader, but suddenly I'm reading right now, and I'm reading these 2 books. And so you have to find some part of your life where there is a lightness. Now, that doesn't mean this relationship has to stay positive, but we're trying to build a basis of communion. Now, this also depends on the setting, right? If you're in a women's circle and you're going to be worshiping the moon that night, it doesn't matter what you say, right? That's super vulnerable. You say it to everyone, right? So just being open to, I think, the setting, not about being cool, but knowing like what's shareable. What's shareable and what's TMI is a way to dance that. I hope I got that for you, Siggy. Bridget says, I get overwhelmed with follow-up after networking events when I've gotten tons of people's emails and contacts. What's a great way to create a follow-up structure with those connect with after an event? And what's the appropriate amount of energy to spend in back and forth messages with individuals? What's a way to mitigate overwhelm and trying to keep up with them? So Bridget, this is a great question. So you go to an event or you go somewhere, you get all these email addresses, you contact all these people, and like, how do I contact them? And what's the way to do that? So first of all, get their butts onto a database, because you're going to lose them in your DM feed. You're going to lose them in your email. Get them into a database. Okay. So that might look like after the event, you're DMing them, whatever. But in the next couple of days, you're going to go back and go, okay, great. I forgot to put this person in there. Let me kind of chart them out so that I've got them. And so your goal here is not message. Your goal is message as much as you can, get into the system. Because if they're not in the system, you're going to lose track of them. The system is almost more important than the immediacy. Because then once they're in the system, you can go, oh yeah, I see where I met her. Oh, hey, I forgot to write you after that thing. It was so nice to meet you. So you need to lean into your system first, because I'm imagining you don't have a system already, right? So in terms of getting what she said about energy of back and forth, you control that in some ways. So don't ask questions. This sounds so horrible. But if it's about saying it was really lovely to meet you, I look forward to our paths crossing in the future. Take really good care of yourself. I loved when you said XYZ ABC period. Thanks, Bridget. Right? If you ask questions, it's going to keep the back and forth going. Right? So I always say, stay to the topic. The topic is, we met at this event. I'm celebrating the fact that we met. That is the period, and I'm moving on. I hope this helps. Okay. Nicole, is there a database that reminds you when to follow up so it's not in my brain to remember? Great. Salesforce is so huge and amazing, but not what necessarily we all need. So I believe that there's something called Follow Up Then. If you guys haven't used this before, it's called followupthen.com. And what it does, it'll send you an email. You can write like 2 weeks at followupthen.com, and it'll send you an email 2 weeks later, or 3 months later, or 6 months later. So you can use that as a way to remind you to send certain things. I think if you did that for everyone in your database, it would make you insane, because then you'd be getting all these follow-up thens emails all the time. But I think a better way to do this is to have a system created where, okay, Thursday is my database day. I look at my database. I look at the date I last contacted. I'll reach out to 5 or 10 people today. It's kind of going to be a quick cut and paste because it's a little bit generic, but I will take the time to do that. That's the best way that I can say to do that, Nicole, unless it is, I'm in the space where I'm sending an email every month. Everybody's on the list, gets the same email. That's about how much time I have to put into this. I believe in that method working. So those are the 2 options I'd give you. Do you recommend mentioning the personal and professional when reaching out to a connection via email, especially someone you haven't spoken to during the pandemic, but used to connect with more? Got it. This is great. Siggy is asking this question, right? When reaching to a connection via email, yes, speak into the personal and the professional, right? But I think if it's someone who knows you, just like be a person. Hey, Kelly, it's been a while since we connected. The pandemic has been weird, so it's no chance for us to it's been impossible for us to see each other in real life when I normally would be running into you at a casting office or a workshop or in a meeting. So I just wanted to reach out and let you know, say how it's going for you, and share a little bit of news from me. I just got married. It's really exciting. And we're suddenly having like a forced honeymoon in our house all the time. So that's exciting. So I think there's a way to dance between those two. So I think that generally when you're reaching out to someone you haven't connected in a while, you want your curiosity to evenly match your share. So instead of it being necessarily a 1 and a 1, it wants to be curiosity, and it could be a 1 and a 1, or it could be just a 1, but want to feel the same amount of energy going toward what's going on with you, especially if it's a one-on-one connection. Okay. Is it important to ask someone's permission before adding them to a mailing list? Yes. And here's how I think you do that. It's more like ask for forgiveness. So the first time you send out your newsletter or whatever it is, I hate the word newsletters, guys. When you send out an email to a bunch of people, the first part of your email should say, hey, I'm trying to do a better job of keeping in touch with my own network. And that's what this email is all about. So I'm really grateful that you're one of those people and you're on my list. You're on my VIP list. Yay, exclamation point. If at any time, I will be emailing, I'll probably email you once a month or less. So you can, I promise I won't be blowing up your inbox. But if at any time you're not into it, feel free to click unsubscribe below, no hard feelings. So you actually want to encourage people to unsubscribe. Let them make the choice. And the reason why I say that is the people who will be left on your list will be the people who are most interested in hearing from you in that way, right? It gives them the chance to say, I'm a yes. You know that those are more yes people at that point because they haven't unsubscribed. Great question. I think I'm really good at starting conversations with people and asking them about them, but I never talk about myself, so they never get to know about me. How do I change that balance without feeling weird? First, Marty, you're winning by being more curious about them than needing to talk about yourself. So first of all, I want to just honor that. Look for connections. So what do they say that it reminds you of in your own life? Do they talk about a job that they've done? Do they talk about a show that they're watching? They talk about a book that they've read, a neighborhood that they live in. Use those as open doors for you, as we said, like the rungs of the ladder to connection, where you can say, oh, I was in Santa Monica last night. I went to a dinner there. Like you can literally just open up the door for you to talk a little bit. So that's going to feel a little bit like uncomfortable at first, right? And it's going to be the kind of thing where right now we can talk about it, but you're not going to know it until you try it. So what I would do the next time you're at a networking event of some sort, just say, okay, great. Tonight, I'm going to look for the door openings. Tonight, that's going to be my goal. I'm going to look for door openings where I can talk about myself a little bit. I'm going to open the door for that. And so just see how you did at the end of the night and notice where it went well. Because this is a muscle that has to be stretched. We can't just say, here's the answer. Hope that helps. Carrie, I feel like I've wasted opportunities to reach out to people in the past and now it's too late. It's never too late. I feel like I've missed the window. Reaching out to people out of the blue will seem opportunistic and inauthentic. Any tips? Any tips? Great question, you guys. So I want to make sure you hear this. So she said, she feels like they're so long ago. Can she even reach out now? Like, is she allowed at this point? Yes. The problem is the solution. Hey, Steve, it's been so long since we've connected. I don't know if you'll remember, but we worked on this commercial together. I was in the hair and makeup department and you were assistant directing at the time. Are you still doing that? Question mark. I wanted to reach out to you because I'm trying to just do a better job of staying in touch with the people in my business. And this is my first step towards doing that. Hope that this can be a continued conversation and wishing you tons of luck, especially as our business is coming back. Take very good care of yourself. XO, Carrie. Maybe not the XO, you can decide. Does that make sense, Carrie? So what you want to do is speak into the problem. It's been a long time. By saying it out loud, it brings up I am so bought in on loving you. I'm so bought in saying yes to you. I'm so bought in the vulnerability and the authenticity of you saying, hey, I've been reaching out for a while, right? If you put in that, and I'd like to get a job with you, like that's thumbs down. We have to start the conversation again. Hope that helps there. Emily, as a recent grad who's looking for full-time work, I've definitely felt a sort of pressure to assume a professional identity now that students no longer fits. I'd love some advice on framing this sort of limbo in a connective way. Great, Emily. You're looking for a job right now. I'm gonna push back because I would lean into, I am newly on the job market, having just come off of an incredible education at Northwestern University where I know that my strengths are ABC, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, ABC. Like that is what I know I can bring to a workspace. I am excited to do that. I'm right now reaching out to my network of friends and colleagues and past teachers because I'm on the hunt for a job that feels like a real fit. If you know anywhere that's hiring, that just looking for someone like the above, or might even be, would you send me the name of that person? Or if you know somebody else I might need to reach out to, please let me know. So I would say better than leaning away from your studenthood, I would celebrate it because that's where we get to hear the authenticity, right? I hope that answers your question. If not, I want you to ask me another one, put it into the Q&A because I feel like there might be a secondary question there. Heidi Marie says, how can we effectively navigate Zoom networking opportunities? I've had to be in a speed date networking rooms and I'd love to know how to be effective in those spaces. Heidi, such a good question. So I'm assuming it's like a one-on-one, you've got a few minutes together, right? Say, great, okay, so I've done these things before and what I can say, I'm being you, Heidi. So it's great to meet you. What's your name? Great, lovely. I'm Heidi Marie. So we only have a little bit of time. So what if we share each other's contact information first? So if we want to go further, we can. Cool. So let me tell you a little bit about, I want to hear about you. What do you do? Tell me what brought you to this event tonight? right? And then you get to hear a little bit, and then you can share the personal, professional in response to that. I love starting what brought you to this event. What were you hoping to happen from tonight's event is another way to say that. And then you could say, you know what I was hoping for tonight is I'm hoping to meet people. I'm trying to just broaden my network because I'm in the moves right now to decide what's going to be next in my career. So right now I'm pretty open to just meeting people to see what connections they might lead to. And so I'm so glad that we had a chance to be here together. Literally that. So speak your intention of why you've gone. How do we combine uncool and professional? So I think I spoke into this. No TMI, right? And I think I answered this earlier. So I'm going to move on from that gift. If I didn't cover it, you'll let me know. How do I create opportunities to connect with people from whom I do want things ultimately? Great. So Marty, we're specifically speaking today about people that you know. I'm not talking about reaching out to people. So I want to make sure that we're going to stay within the container of today's class. So the truth is, you've got to continue. Helen, can you slow down on the deleting until I finish the question, because sometimes I need to refer it again. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So thanks. So what we want to do is connect. And the question is not a big deal. For you, the question is a big deal. For them, it's not. So what that looks like is, hey, Steve, it was great to meet you. Hey, this is kind of out of the blue, but in my work, I'm looking to meet with some production companies to pitch my project. I'm not sure if your company is the right one that would be open to something like this. If it is, terrific, and I'd love to hear from you. But wondering if you knew anybody else that might be the fit. So what you want to do is almost unattach that they are ultimately what you need, but rather they might be what you need, and they might know other people that can connect you to what you need. So what it does is it gives me the space to go, yeah, you're not really a fit for our production company right now, but I know a few guys over at the butt cheese company that will like you, right? So just writing it in a way where it gives them permission to say no, which isn't the same as asking them to say no, which is like codependent, like, I'm sure this is not the right thing to do, and I don't mean to ask this way, but is it okay if I ask him? No, that is not how we're talking. You have value, you're worthy, right? So it is, like I said, I'm gonna give it again because I said that quickly. Hey, Steve, great to connect with you last week. I'm not sure if you're the right person to reach out to, but right now in my work, if you notice, I'm using that phrase a lot. But right now in my work, I'm trying to get this show that I've got pitched to a few companies. I don't know if it's right in the pocket of what you guys do at your company. If so, of course, I'd love to connect to the right person there if you're open to connecting me to them. But if not, I'm wondering if you might know one name of somebody else, because I'm finding that this is really about a networking game of me getting to know people. Thanks for your help. Look forward to connecting with you soon. Let's keep the conversation going, right? So hopefully that makes sense. That was not hard. That would not be hard for me to say yes or no to, okay? The trick I'm also using is, do you know anyone is different for, do you know one person? Very different question. I feel more empowered to give you one person than anyone. It helps me, right? Okay, I signed NDA, so I can't use capital letters and can't be details about what I'm working on, what to do. Annie, for all of your work in the history of the world, everything is an NDA. Are you a James Bond operative? My goodness. So I will say that I have a client who does motion capture, and she can't talk about any of her projects and use capital letters. So what she can say is what you just said. So I can't tell you the name of the game. I wish that I could, but what I can tell you, it's at this level game, and it's so cool to be able to get into that suit and get into that motion capture screen. And I'm loving it because they're using my voice this time, and I've been working on a few different character voices, and I'll get to have weapons and all that stuff. But it's a journey to be a motion capture person, and so I'm already intrigued, and I'll already ask you questions. So what I think is, rather than seeing it as an impediment that you can't use capital letters, lean into the details of what's exciting to you. All right, we'll believe you because you're sharing your experience of it. So I hope that helped, Anne. Great question. How can we network successfully online if we are not meeting people in person? So one of the ways is kind of the trick I told you with the Zoom chat. Another is if there are a Facebook group associated with classes. So like in this class today, right? I shared 2 different Facebook groups. You could literally go to that Facebook and say, who was in Brian's class today? I'd love to meet some people and connect with you a little further. Here's what I do. There's the vulnerability. Here's what I do. And I'm looking to connect with people who X, Y, Z, A, B, C. It is calling out what you want or need, or what you're not need, what you might be looking for in terms of a connection, because then I can see myself in your network. All right. Okay, Shady, any database you recommend? I've been using Spreadsheet, but I like something that helps me be even more organized. I love Google Sheets. I know it's so dorky, but if you're going to use a mail server like MailChimp or Emma or Constant Contact, that's another way to stay organized. Jacqueline, is LinkedIn any good for networking? Yes, it is. But you have to treat LinkedIn, sacredly. So if I'm going to write a connection, I'm going to reach out to them thoughtfully. If I'm going to message someone, I'm going to message them thoughtfully. So you have to get the pro version for this to really work, but you have to really lean into if you can get their email address and take it off of LinkedIn and treating it the same, with that same sacredness you would treat an email is the best way to describe that, okay? Kyra, we got 2 more questions. First of all, thank you everybody for being here. I'm so excited. What if your personal overlaps with your professional database? Should I keep it separate? How to keep it separate? Feel like I need to do this, keep in contact regularly with tons with the list of my personal contacts as well. I have a mentor who always said, maintain that relationship. It gets overwhelming. I am a huge advocate for saying, I am too busy of a person to create a professional list of people and a personal list of people. Everybody gets to hear from me, and if they don't want to hear from me, they can unsubscribe. Kyra, that's what I want you to live into. Live into the idea, I'm staying in touch with everyone. If they don't want to be on my list, they can unsubscribe. See ya, wouldn't want to be ya, right? It gives them permission, the dignity of clicking unsubscribe. So imagine that your professional news matters to your personal people, and your personal people, your personal news matters to your professional people. So just believe into that. And if you lean into the framework we taught, which is one personal, one professional, that will help you kind of write those emails, okay? You're going to 100% get people to say, why are you sending this to me? Who cares? That's on them. If you were doing this poorly, you wouldn't get those kind of emails. I believe when you're doing this well, you do get those kind of emails. Igor says, final question. I love this one. What are some ways to tap into intuition? This is a beautiful way to leave us, Igor. Thank you for this question. One of the things I remarked on earlier to kind of leave us all in a great place was using your intuition around how often you should be reaching out, using your intuition on what to say, right? I believe one of the ways to lean into intuition is to take the focus off of yourself and imagine how you want this person to feel, how you want them to think, or if you want them to do something. So if I'm really being of service to this person, right? So if I think about, I can share with you, I have a large community of people that I serve, creatives, right? And I send emails to them pretty much like once a week, once every other week. I am in a constant state of how can I serve? What do they want to hear from me? And that gives me so much ease when I'm writing my messaging. And I believe that's part of the intuition. It's reframing what you're doing. So Kyra, who's talking about reaching out to a personal and professional, and what's the messaging? What am I sharing? How do I want them to feel when they open my email? I want them to feel like a breath of fresh air. I want them to feel a pat on the back. I want them to laugh, right? So thinking about how you want them to feel, maybe what you want them to think. I want them to think, cool, Kyra's got stuff going on, cool. I want them to click on this link because I've got a little thing I want them to watch, and I want them to laugh, so it's a funny thing. So just kind of using that framework of how do you want them to think, how do you want them to feel, what do you want them to do, taps me into my intuition. So I think that's everything today. I want to thank you so much for being here. Helen, do we have anything else we need to say to everybody?
No, I just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing a plethora of knowledge for all of us. And I know that we enjoyed so much of the virtual engagement that we were able to do on the chat. So thank you. And then last question for you. I know you talked a lot, but is there any last advice that you would like to leave us with?
Yeah. The last advice I want to leave everyone with is going to be the most difficult and annoying advice. The more human you are in your interactions, the more networking works. So that means the more vulnerable you're willing to be. It means the more you're willing to say, I haven't reached out to you in 10 years. I'm finally reaching back to you. It means I'm really excited to be at this event. I've never been at one of these before. It means really revealing who you are. So that, I believe, is the truth of who you are and makes you a better networker, I'll put in quotes, but makes you a better human being. And that's the person that we're attracted to working with. That's the person we want to collaborate with. That's the person we're going to think of to work on our next project. And our database is just a way for them to get, oh yeah, she was cool. I mean, the good kind of cool. I liked meeting her, right? So that's why I think the database is such an important piece of this process. So thank you for the opportunity to answer that question, Helen. I appreciate it.
Sweet. Thank you. And thank you everyone for who stayed until now to listen to all the Q&As. Just a reminder, the recording of this webinar and the slide deck will be sent to your inbox. So no worries. I'll include the links that Brian wanted to share as well, because they're all way up in the chat tab. So it's hard to access them now. But thank you so much. I hope to see you all again at our upcoming webinars, and go Cats.
Go Cats. I'll see you guys soon. Love you. Be good. Thanks.